And then it cut off for me yesterday. Hi, YouTube. Great to have you. I am just back from the studio. Today I was teaching clients. So I thought I was teaching one client how to paint flowers, which was amazing. And it's something I absolutely love to do. And I know that you, my audience, love flowers. There's something so nice about them as we come into spring. You can see behind me just, I think, the roses, which I painted on the ground. And that was last summer, actually. But these are the different techniques. So I thought I would share it on Instagram too, as well as on my YouTube, because yesterday YouTube cut off. But different techniques that I use, and I'm going to show you the paintings that I do them, because my student that was in the studio today was commenting like seeing the paintings in real life is so different. So I know with so many of you being away, I try to make that like it's good to see sizes. So this is me. This is Midnight Snacks, which is really big. And I'm trying to decide if I want to send this one to Germany for the group exhibition that I'm part of, because so many of the other artists are like me and paint really large. And I want to send a big piece. But I have pieces going to Portugal and where else am I shipping to? And at the minute, it's like just trying to figure out shipping. So with this one, the technique that I used with this, and I'm going to show you. So this is one. And then of the same series, these are both part of the same series. So these are canvas. And yesterday I was discussing different types of canvas. This is also canvas. I think this gets, people get confused and think that I'm painting on paper. So I should maybe make that clearer. But this is canvas. And then what happens is my framer makes a frame, which is what this is. And then this is a double frame. So he makes a stretcher that I stretch it onto. And then there's also a frame that I inset it into. I had my framer make those. I hope he's not watching. And I have still yet to do them, because I could paint all day for you. But when it comes to framing, I'm like, pass it on. So with this, I look like I'm being like, it's like a blanket. Maybe I should make blankets as well sometime. But with these are all the same palette. So there was pink, baby blues. To be honest, they're absolutely dreamy in my eyes. There's orange, burnt orange. Then there was a green. I was complaining about Persian blue in my latest YouTube when I was painting on the train, because Persian blue is great, but it's such a high, it just overtakes everything. But luckily, I actually used it on these paintings and it didn't overtake everything. So different variations on here, which is quite a good one to see, is water. I would pour water. So I bring the paint into, so people can use like pouring acrylics, or they can use alcohol, like it's like an alcohol substance that you put on. I just like to use water, painterly water. So you'll see with some of the live videos that I've put up, and you'll see that I mix the water when I'm cleaning the brush, and then I pour. So that will give you one of the layers at the very bottom, but it also gives you these nice little bleeds through, especially if you're painting from a height looking down. So there's that one. The other one is grains. I add, like, there's a grain, a paste you can get, or I would use a different medium to make my paint really thick. You can also use a very heavy quality of acrylics, which sometimes I do, but you get then more texture like this. You can see in the light here. So this is whenever I add in grains into the paint that I use. And then another variation of that is just here. So even though the paintings will be stretched and flat, there is something so cool about, like, I could paint thick paintings and sell them all day long, because we all love thick paint. It's so intriguing and it really invites people in. So even with the abstract, I like there to be those thick elements. This one is a particular favorite actually of mine. It has the grains underneath. So that's one. Then another is palette knife, which you know I love. So I was teaching my student today for palette knife. You can add the paint on and you can scrape it depending how big and how wide and long the palette knife is. But if you saw, there's a big painting that I made and went to Australia. And I used, the palette knife I had wasn't big enough. So I actually used like really strong card, folded in half. So you still get this mass of like a scoring of paint across the canvas, but you're able to use, because the palette knives only come, they're not that large. So you get this lovely scraping sensation, which is where sensation, maybe not a sensation. You get a big scrape of paint anyway. And what it'll also do is it'll leave the residue. So you'll see here with the scraping, it'll leave a little line where the contact ends on the palette knife that you're scoring into. So I do it that way with it, but then I also score into it to make these marks. So what I did was I scored into this first with the palette knife, and then I revisited with a graphite pencil, which is what I also have on my list. Yeah, pencil scribbling. You will see here, I always write like, so they kind of look just like a big blanket until they're made like this one. So this is unicorn. And whenever they're stretched onto your frame, it's just the finish for me. It's so cool to, because you know, and you love the work that you make, but whenever you see it stretched, you're like, that makes sense. So in here, you'll see that I like to write on the canvases. So this is me just writing, like I don't actually remember what this was because there's this sort of performance element of what I do. But this one is called Midnight Snacks. And this series, I wanted to be really fun and I wanted it to be really lively, but very, very happy. I actually painted these, the photo shoot that I did in September, October time. There was photos being taken at the same time. And it was on, I was finishing the paintings on the floor of my late father's barn. So he built that before he passed away. And it's where I would love to eventually change. I would love to change it into like this, my working studio. So I didn't want the paintings to be sad, if that makes sense. I wanted them to be joyful. So for me, they're full of joy, despite being made in my dad's barn. But for me, it's like full of memories in there. There's none of his stuff really there, but I wanted it to be joyful. So that's what these are. Very joyful. But yeah, palette knife is the one thing. So scoring in, and then also scoring the paint on, but also making in these nice little marks. Water drips. So that can be throwing water at it, or that can be pouring the water. Hands or transfer. So the hands, when I would use like my hands, and that this one's a good example of it. Well, I see where I'm looking at pointing here. So the very center of this painting behind me is really grainy, which is another thing I talked about there. But I put the grainy paint on my hand and I smooshed it in. So you'll see people do that with like bubble wrap and different things. They'll have like, it's called a transfer basically. So you will see that is my hands there, but really expressive and fun. And then the last one is the painting and scribbling on. So you'll see there's still text on this little guy here as well. And for me, it just is a connection. And for you, the audience, I want my audience to bring their story to the work that I make. So they might look at this and be like, I love the color purple. Or they might connect with stories to do with my story, so with grief, or they might just decide that they want to piece this shape. So that's the beauty about buying art and making art, is that it's horses for courses, isn't it? So those are my top techniques. There are loads more. So today, even with my student, I was able to introduce her to about 10 different techniques, but I'll share those another time. Those are just a few of them. This is another one where you can see those. So similar palette, but the smaller version of this is in London at the minute. It's called Just Another Lemon Tree. I don't think I have a name for this one yet, but you can see all the variations of that. So we have palette knife, we have water drips, we have pencil with more water drips. I love drips. I could use drips all day. But there you are. ask me any questions about abstract techniques, the way to do it. Hello. When are you painting again? I have a new painting coming out, a new demo coming out on YouTube, and it is a sunset. We did the palette knife one on a few weeks ago. This is now the painterly version of it. So it's really smooth and beautiful. And yeah, from yesterday, I think we've gone up another 200. So we're creeping toward 200 subscribers, creeping towards 10,000, which is what my son wanted for me in 2024, but we're 2025. We're getting there. So thanks for watching. Thank you, YouTube. I'll be dropping that demo. It'll be tomorrow, Friday. And I can't wait to give it a try. And then I have another wee one today. Whenever my student was leaving, I used all of her paint and I used her gesture drawing of the flowers and I painted over them. So it'll be a fun one for you to see because my next student was on their way. So I literally had 5 minutes. So it's a 5-minute painting, kind of ugly, muted colors of a tulips in this glass vase. So I'll put it up for you and I'll put a voiceover because I just want to encourage you to enjoy, embrace. And it was really good for my student to see that I was sort of using energy and putting painting out there without losing myself in the detail. So have a great day. Hopefully this one saves.